Today we're just doing October chores. It's going to be a nice quick video. Today is just talking about the chores that we need to do because Sydney's birthday is upcoming and we went out shopping, so we're not doing any work in the yard today. But we do have, what we've been talking about for the last few weeks. So this is our, our first season of gardening in the yard, and so right now what we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to part of our chores is laying out compost and laying out mulch. That's just something I do. Not everybody puts down compost in the fall, but I like it. But because I'm in the South, my nails are dirty from doing stuff already. But because we're in the South and we pretty much have mild weather all year, I go ahead and compost anyway. So I have compost and I also have mulch. And that way it's done before it starts getting cold. I can't believe we actually have fall. This is just amazing. It's really nice out right now. I think we got a high of 78 here in North Carolina, so it's been lovely. So part of our October chores, we also have to lay pavers, but that's not a chore. That's just one of the things we talk about. But we've noticed that the pavers have become more expensive. They're about $2 more than what they were when we originally started getting them. So that's going to be a chore that's going to wait. And that is one of my chores that I personally have taken on. So the first chore that we're actually going to do next week is going to be laying the compost and the mulch that I do for fall. And like I said, most people don't do the compost or any kind of fertilizing in fall and winter because their plants are dormant. But because my plants are not dormant and I'm still getting blooms and things like that and new growth on plants, I just go ahead and keep feeding. I'm not doing like true fertilizer, so it's not going to be a lot of feeding, but it's the compost which gives it a lot of nutrients that it needs. Next thing we'll be doing will be deadheading perennials, and that you can do your roses too. What I'm going to have to do with my roses that I just put in the ground, this small, oh so easy paprikas that we had that I put in. It doesn't like me. The microphone does not like me. I'm just The microphone does not like me, so it cuts off on me all the time. But anyway, so with the roses up front, the big roses that I have, I'm gonna deadhead those down to nubs so that I can get a bigger flush come spring. But it will continue to grow all through winter because it's just going to be so mild. I don't know if we're going to have a harsh winter or not. I'm sure I can look at the Farmer's Almanac and kind of figure it out, but we'll see. You've been bugs on me all day. Okay. Okay. Don't nobody say nothing. Okay. Also, I get a lot of leaves in my yard. I have trees all around me. My neighbor's trees, my trees, the other neighbor's trees, some other neighbor's trees. So I get all the leaves in the yard, especially because I have a privacy fence. So they just come and they just move themselves into my yard and they conglomerate all over the place. So I have leaves everywhere. Start mulching your leaves. If you have a compost bin or you want to start, good place to start, use your leaves that you get in your yard, especially if you're like me and you have trees everywhere. Use those leaves and go ahead and start piling them up. Go over them with the mower. And you can put on the mulching side if you want to and just pile up the leaves and have the mower go over it. And then you can put it in your compost bin or the compost pile, however you're doing it. And so that's part of your brown matter that you're putting in your compost bin. So I kind of start, whenever we mow the yard, we just mow over the leaves and that just goes back into the yard. We really don't get great looking grass because we have too many trees. Everywhere you step within like 20 feet, there's a tree or some roots from another tree. So I have, 75-foot trees, 100-foot trees. So, my options for having great grass is just not there. So I don't even try. And who likes grass anyway? Also, you want to start trimming your trees for fall. So if you have early spring blooming trees or shrubs, then you need to go ahead and trim them now or shape them up. Now, for me, because like I said, I keep mentioning we're getting siding. So I'm just going to wait and I'm just going to, because they have to be cut down to very short for them to come over and do stuff. I know they can probably work around it, but it's just going to be easier, and so they don't damage. They're already going to damage stuff when they come here and have stuff everywhere. So I need to go ahead and prevent as much damage as I can. So a lot of these shrubs and things are going to be cut down probably by half. I usually try to do only by a third. That's better for your trees and shrubs, but I'm going to cut these down by half, at least the azalea and the camellia tree I have. And then if you have large leaf hydrangeas or some of the oak leaf hydrangeas, then of course you just cut them back as needed, cutting off the blooms and things like that. I consider that like a shrub because it grows like one, or a small tree. Then also, this is the time to plant your trees, shrubs, and bulbs, because it is milder temperatures, and because you're planting now, that gives them a time to develop a nice root system, so that they're ready for next spring and into that hot summer, so that you're not having to deal with plants that are not flourishing. Like I started my garden pretty much in like end of May, early June when we started this channel. And my plants, they suffered a little bit, but they did as well as could be expected, like we talked about last video. So, I'm there's a tennis ball up under that chair. Okay, so I was looking at Coda's tennis ball. He loves that ball. Okay, so we're gonna have to get that. Also, did you order your seeds? And did you order your plants? So remember we talked about last time, I said it's time to, do not wait for when northern gardeners are ordering stuff. Because if you live in the South, if you wait until you almost have winter or whatever, you're going to be out of luck because everything's going to be gone. So did you order your seeds? Did you order your plants? If not, then you need to go ahead and get on that, especially if you know what you want. So what'll happen is if you start ordering now, I think for spring planting, they start allowing people to order in late December, early January. But if you wanted certain fall plantings or things that you wanted to plant in November, December, then you need to go ahead and order now. I know a lot of stuff is already gone, or they're not sending the stuff out now. So another thing, start ordering your plant catalog. So if you're doing vegetable gardening, you need to go ahead and get those catalogs now so you can figure out, okay, what plants you want, what seeds you want, and things like that. And you can start ordering. All catalogs are free. There's very few that you have to pay for. If you do, it's like a couple bucks, but most catalogs that are coming from the manufacturers or the growers, they're free. So you just type in Monrovia. Well, let's see, Monrovia doesn't have it. Bluestone perennials, Jackson and Perkins, Becky's bulbs and seeds, and a whole host of others. They all have free ones. Also, this is the time to clean your bird feeders, your birdhouses, and your bird baths. So make sure that when you're cleaning them, that you're using like a 1 part bleach and then like 5 parts water, something like that. So I usually just use like a cap full of bleach. I just don't trust doing the 1 part to whatever parts. I always forget. I think it's like 1 part to 10. So, but I would just do a cap full in a gallon of water, and that should do it, and some soap, just to kind of clean them out. If you have the bird houses that don't have the little hatch in the back to open, then you're just gonna have to do the best that you can do. A lot of times some birds don't care and they will move in anyway. But just do the best that you can so that they have a nice clean water source and home source. Bugs, oh, it's those stink bugs. Okay. Also, repotting plants that start thinking about repotting plants. If you're in the South, you need to think about, your ferns need to probably come out of those pots. I know mine are just like on their last legs. We're not even going to talk about mine. I have my Bartzella peony that I covered up with my netting to keep the squirrels away, and it actually flowered. It doesn't have flowers. It has petals and leaves on it, so it's actually doing really good. The squirrels haven't tried to pull it off, which is amazing. I'm surprised because they're smart, and they will try to do that, but I think they think it's too much of a hassle. And then we have the caladium, which is starting to die back, and so what is going to happen is I'm going to end up taking a couple pieces, giving it to Sydney next time, and she's going to have a couple pieces put on her deck, and she has nowhere to put them, but you know, it's all right. She's laughing at me like, yeah, okay, lady. And then some of the others we're going to try and propagate, like this little thing. This is a wax begonia, but it's huge. It's a dragon wing. So, you know, pulling off some of the deadheads, but we're going to take this and try and propagate it because I love the leaves on it. And then we have a mandevilla over there, which of course is a tropical, and I don't think we're gonna be able to do that one. But these have been sitting in that pot, or else it'd be a lot bigger. But this thing did so good this whole summer, and I just love these big old leaves. So we're gonna try and save that one and get Sydney to propagate it for us. Yeah, but so anyway, that's it. The only things I think I'm going to be cutting back in my yard, I have a little honey hydrangea that I've showed you guys maybe once, and I'll show you about, you know, cutting that one back. That one I don't cut back. I just deadhead it. I've never cut it back the entire time I've had it because I like the height that it has, and plus it's an oak leaf. And so you really don't have to, you know, cut back unless you have damaged stems and things like that. But we can go over that. And then the limelight, I'm going to cut back by a third because now it's taller than the shed. Yeah. So my husband said he would help. And Lord knows I'm scared if he helps. Because if he helps, that means it's going to be cut back in half and it might die. But, you know, we're going to see. And then there's another hydrangea, old macrophylla, that's back behind that one. And you know, macrophyllas grow on the old wood, the old-fashioned macrophyllas. They grow on old wood, and so we don't want to cut it back too much. So I usually just deadhead down to the first set of buds, and then I'll show you how to do that. We'll get a nice close-up of that. And then some of the newer varieties that grow on new wood, you can actually cut back all the way down to the ground. So I just need to remember which ones those are, because I have all my hydrangeas like mixed together. So I have to remember, okay, which one is this again? And then we have to clean up around the tree. And then I'm thinking about in the front of the yard, there's where we have all the daylilies and where we have the bird bath at. I think I need to put some kind of evergreens there. And I'm thinking, me and Sydney looked at some evergreens today. And I think I need to have some kind of structure in that middle bed number 2. Because I think that will kind of help offset the other part of the yard. Because everything will be big against the fence. But then when we come in the middle, there's no structure there because everything is just perennials. So you know, I have the one weeping red bud on the end, but there's nothing in the rest of the bed that's structure. You know, the roses, you know, are going to be really low, and then you have that one rose on the end to kind of anchor, but that's only going to get 3 feet. So now I have to think about anchoring the entire bed and having some structure and interest that's going to hold throughout, you know, the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter. So you have to think about that when you're planting. You know, one side of the yard, coming out the front door where me and Sydney planted all those hostas coming out. So that's structurally sound because as you go through that bed, you have hostas, then you have a taller plant of the rudbeckia, which gives that nice bright pop of yellow, and then you have some Japanese maples there, both giving off different colors. So you have the nice burgundy of one, which is the bloodgood, and I think that's a bloodgood, or maybe that's a princess. We'll figure it out. And then the other one is a thread leaf that gives us a more chartreuse color, and that's a low growing. And then you have another pop of color with another hydrangea, which is it's not an oak leaf. I believe that's the pinky winky, but we'll figure it out. And then next to that, you have a couple of low growing perennials and then the redbud, and then you come around and you have all these daylilies. So it's just daylilies, more daylilies, and then we have some iris, and that's it. So where's the structure at? So I have to do something about that. I have to fix that because, you know, the daylilies are only going to bloom so much. So what am I going to do beside that? You know, and do I want to put a hydrangea in the middle of that as well? So that's something to think about. And that's a work in progress. You know, first season of growing, starting from the beginning. And these are all, not daylilies, of course, but a lot of these plants are newer for me. Some of the hydrangeas I've never grown before. I usually just grow the old-fashioned macrophylla or the oak leaf and call it a day, but they had so many new varieties with the firelight, the limelights, and things like that. So now I have to rethink how I'm going to do this garden, and I really didn't want to overdo it. Again, I wanted to keep things small, even though this is a huge yard. Even though I'm not planting in the back and stuff like that. So this is, of course, your October chores, like every month. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, the entire year. Every month you need to think, is the yard satisfying to me? Is this the way I want it to look? Do I want to change anything? And you know what? You can change it. Who cares, right? So that's just some things that I'm going to be thinking about and talking about, especially in the next video, as we do some cleanup, as we lay down all this manure, composted manure, but manure nonetheless. So as we lay down all this stuff next week and do some cleanup and get the beds prepared, that's things we need to think about. So, do I want to get the trees in? And then once I put the little trees in, do I want to get the smaller ones? Well, not once I get them in, but once I figure out what trees I want, do I want to get the small ones that are just, $9 or $10 a piece? Or do I just want to go ahead and get something a little bit bigger to kind of help the garden get going and get that structure in? So that's something for me to think about. Oh, it's quiet. Oh, it's so quiet. That's nice. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.